we're talking about the whole person. Like, I'm not just the medical condition. I want to be living life to the fullest. And if that looks like, I don't know, whatever it might be, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I also think you kind of learn what your limitations are.
I am so excited for this week's episode of It's a Rare Story. Today I have M.E and Wesley on, and they are going to be sharing their story of being born with a condition that affected both of them, and really just diving into how all of that has been for them and where they are in today's life. So help me in welcoming M.E and Wesley to the show.
Hi. Hello.
I'm so excited to have both of you guys on the show today. To start, what is your favorite color? And it could be, so I know we were doing this in like the test question before we started actually recording. I'm gonna specify to color of clothing that you would love to wear.
Clothing. You love him.
Yeah, I like pink.
And then I think like more like a green. For whatever reason, it seems to match me. Wow.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of, but like a darker green.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really like just getting started with the interview. What was it that y'all were born with, and what did that look like?
Okay. We were born with Pfeiffer Syndrome. Originally, they thought it was Poisson Syndrome. But later on, we found out it was Pfeiffer. And that can look different for anybody that has Pfeiffer, but a lot of the same characteristics are the same, and a lot of the journey, if you will, looks very similar. I even like being twins are is a little bit different than each other. Me personally, uh, like I have scoliosis included, and well, I don't have it anymore. I got the final fusion, but yeah, that includes a lot of facial reconstruction surgery. And it includes just a variety of complexities, mostly medical. And I think that's another thing is like a lot of people think it's just appearance or cosmetic or something very minor, like, oh, she just looks different. And it's much more than that. It's much more severe and complicated.
And for what does Pfeiffer syndrome look for me? I would say I think it's a unique journey. I was talking about this with somebody recently, and I said everybody knows what cancer is, whether it's breast cancer
You
or
might not know the specifics,
Yeah.
but you know, like cancer, the
Yeah,
disease,
exactly.
it can potentially be
Yeah.
deadly.
Yeah, and so, but now a lot of people don't know what a craniofacial condition is. A lot of people are like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Or, I mean, having a craniofacial condition, I think, is a very unique experience that people sometimes are curious, but sometimes they just kind of say their comments. And I think it looks like for us, we kind of grew up in a traditional normal life as far as we have friends and all that stuff. And I do think there is this stigma that we don't have friends and we don't do this and that. I mean, so recently when I was in Philadelphia, the waitress goes, "Wait, y'all can come to Philly on your own?" And I was like, "What?" She was very, very sweet. But that's not uncommon for us to experience people just asking us questions, being all shocked that we do quote unquote normal things.
For the listeners out there that don't know what a craniofacial condition is, what is a craniofacial condition?
It is basically the condition that affects you from neck up. And so
And a craniofacial condition is from the neck up, as Emmy said, but it affects the way your brain grows. So that also affects your appearance because if your brain is not growing at a normal speed or not growing without the help of a neurosurgeon and a plastic surgeon, that all affects really your anything.
Yeah, you don't have a soft spot when you're born, and so basically,
If you're playing
yeah, or craniofacial condition
Oh.
for a lot of people.
Oh.
I'm saying I don't know if it's all of them, but basically we weren't born with a soft spot, and our faces didn't grow naturally, so you had to have things like a mid face or I think they're called like the 2, 3, and basically the plastic surgeons expand your face so then you can, your brain can naturally grow itself. And I'm like, okay, I'm a little smart here. My brain's growing too fast for my actual head.
But basically, a craniofacial condition is there's a spectrum of it. Like I think most people know what a cleft lip and palate is, and that's more on the. I mean, I'm not discounting what that is, but like they would consider that more on the like
Common side.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 1 in 700. Whereas
Yeah.
having like Pfeiffer Syndrome, it's 1 in 100,000.
Yeah.
So basically having a craniofacial condition is basically we have cleft lip and palate, and then you go into the syndrome or you have craniosynostosis. And
So the syndromes have much more
complexity.
because that a syndrome actually means something like it's more like complicated.
A group of symptoms which consistently occur together, a condition characterized by a set of associated symptoms. So I think that's what Wesley was talking.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's like, so cleft lip and palate, it's usually just limited to the palate, like the mouth.
Cleft lip and palate is known. You have like smile train, Operation Smile. Like,
it's more common.
Yeah, exactly. But the people don't know about the syndromes.
Yeah, they said like, Pfeiffer syndrome, Cleveland syndrome, Pfeiffer syndrome, and those are more, there's more complexity.
Sorry, that answer was so all over the map.
It's all good. So a little bit earlier, you had mentioned about like how people were very like, wait, you can travel alone? Like they seemed very surprised with that. And it's like, well, yeah, like we can. What does life really look like? What things are you able to do? Is there anything that doctors like said that you wouldn't be able to do, but you're actually able to do?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things doctors have said cannot do. Like I was told not to do horseback riding. My mom did take me out of horseback riding, which I was very upset about at the time. They said not to jump on a trampoline. I was not gonna no longer jump on a trampoline. Like that was ridiculous to me. But my brother ended up liking the trampoline, but we ended up not having a trampoline after that. But there's a lot of
I actually was talking about this the other day. I think doctors or surgeons forget, no offense to them, but forget that we try to have a socially, like we try to be in the social.
Well, at least us in particular, we try to have a very normal life. And sometimes they don't see the whole person. Okay, you might think we shouldn't be doing this, but we're talking about the whole person. Like, I'm not just the medical condition. I want to be living life to the fullest. And if that looks like, I don't know, whatever it might be, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I also think you kind of learn what your limitations are. Like, we have fused elbows, and so we kind of help each other when it comes to, like, I put Wesley's hair up every day, but Wesley, that's why my hair is always down, because I can't bend my elbows. But we know our limitations, but we also know what we can do. And I think, like I said, I think sometimes surgeons or doctors think that, I think they look at just you at the doctor's office, not thinking of your everyday life. Yeah, and I don't want to live my life in limitations because you say it's dangerous to do X, Y, and Z. I think Even if it's dangerous, I'm not out here trying to like, do
Right.
something crazy.
So you're not trying to be in a fatal accident.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do the Olympics. Like,
yeah. So I think I'm sure people have told us like we can't do this or can't do that. I don't know any specific examples, but I would feel like almost on a daily basis people are surprised by what we are doing. I'm like, I don't like I just because we look different doesn't mean we are so different than you.
we probably have more similarities than differences.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Cool. So, yeah, like it's just amazing hearing all of the things that you guys do, and that you're not in a box. This is like what my life is supposed to look like with what you were born with. And so it's I love seeing that you guys are like, yeah, nah, we're not gonna stop. Like we're gonna continue to do whatever it is. And yeah, like it might look different, but we're still gonna do it. So really just like the next question that I would have is, I know from just knowing you guys that y'all are involved with different craniofacial organizations. And I just wanted to hear like what ones are you involved with and what is it that you involved in any part? Are you like I want to hear the scoop with that.
So we got involved with CCA, Children's Craniofacial Association, when we were like 7. And we've gone to retreats on and off pretty much our whole life, if you think about it. And then we jumped to like 5th grade. I met this woman named Ashley Rose. She has croup-ons. And at the time, I thought I had croup-ons as well. So we were sitting at the croup-on table. And we met her husband, and we just hit it off because she was moving to South Carolina. And we found out that she used to work for FACES, the National Craniofacial Association. And we used to get, what do you call it, like financial assistance from FACES, the National Craniofacial Association, when we were little because FACES helps you travel to
Like
medical centers.
the mission of FACES is like the first and primary mission is to help children and adults travel to the medical centers. And yeah.
And then fast forward to when I was in college. Ashley Rose, the woman I'm talking about, her son was having a surgery in Charleston. And I went to the College of Charleston. And she calls me. And she goes, the hospital doesn't have Coca-Cola. And I was like, well, I always have a Diet Coke on me. Do you want me to bring over a Diet Coke? And she was like, no, I want Coke. And I was like, okay, because her son was having a mid-phase.
No, he was having his trach removed.
Oh, that's right, his trach removed. And I came over, and she tells me that she's been thinking of this idea. And it was called FACES Camp. And that's why I've been involved ever since. FACES Camp, she said, I want craniofacial kids to be able to experience a normal summer camp because a lot of craniofacial kids, they have surgeries in the summer and they may not feel like they have a group of craniofacial kids their age to go to like a summer camp. And so it's more of an inviting environment.
And not just that, it's more like it's a different place than places like
the hospital.
Well, no, I'm thinking like Victor Junction. That's a great place, but that's more catered to more severe medical, right?
I wouldn't say that. I think FACES Camp is geared towards you having normal experiences, and I say normal as far as like craniofacial condition. Some people have like a trach or something like that, and that goes back to the thought of assumption. And what FACES Camp, the camp is at Camp Woodmont, which is where a lot of other quote unquote normal kids are. And so a lot of camps won't accept people with traits and stuff like that, where Camp Woodmont does and stuff because they don't. At the end of the day, craniofacial kids are just like you. They just may have a feeding tube or a trait. And so this camp is just kind of like you can have normal experiences, but you just may have a trait or a feeding tube as well.
Yeah, and then I'm also involved with face equality. A lot of people don't. Um, it's the organization is in UK. And Faces works a lot with them. We're actually a member. Um, and Face Equality, the mission is to create equality that's whether that's in the workplace, whether that's in the media, whether that's it's just to change the narrative of what a facial difference or a craniofacial condition or anybody that quote unquote looks different, like the change the narrative. Like you're not stupid, you're not you know how people automatically assume like you're not capable, you're stupid or whatever that case may be. It's just to change the narrative.
But I also think also people on the internet can be mean, like, and that's what I was talking about with Aaliyah. She said, "Why did you start talking about craniofacial stuff
On
on TikTok?" And because I'm the type that I've never really talked about having a craniofacial condition. I would see craniofacial people at the hospital or something, but I didn't really talk. It's not my day to day life to just say, "Hey, I have Pfeiffer Syndrome" or something like that. Um, but I started talking about Pfeiffer Syndrome on TikTok when someone commented on my TikTok saying something like, "You look like a humpback whale" or something. I cannot remember. It's kind of a insult, and that just made me so annoyed. And I thought to myself, if you can say that to me and it hurts my feelings, can you imagine what they're saying to little kids? And so I took that opportunity to be more educational and be like, I didn't wake up one day to look like this.
I didn't dream about it.
Yeah, I didn't go, "Well, you know what? I want to look like I have Pfeiffer syndrome or whatever." And so I just was basically saying it's not something we can help. It's our journey, but it's not something I'm like, I don't
There's
know,
so many
so
like
much complexity to it.
yeah,
And
there's a grief aspect
yeah,
to it.
exactly. And it's just a part of your life.
Yeah.
Just
But it doesn't define.
yeah, it describes what you look like, but it's not like who you are
Yeah.
necessarily. So it's defining.
So, a follow-up question would be when people say whatever it is that they say because you look different. How do you go about that? Do you try to tell them, "Oh, I was born with this and like this is what it is and you're more educational," or do you kind of like joke it off? Like what's the response that
Okay. I think it really is variable. Like it depends on how we were like how I'm approached. If you approach me in a very concerned way, if you come to me and just come from a curious place, like, hey, like I was just really curious. Like I have no problem sharing anything and everything. But it's more like how you come to me. If you come to me and tell me I'm ugly, you're not gonna get things. Yeah, like you're just not. Like
Well, I don't say anything in public. I just honestly this sounds bad, but I will put my sunglasses on just to not talk to you because I know people are looking at my eyes. That's like the biggest,
comment.
comments that people give me. They'll be like, "What's wrong with your eyes?" And it's like I don't go up to you and say, "What's wrong with your I can't even think of something because it's not even it's mean." And then it's just I wouldn't. It's just not normal to go up to somebody and say, "Hey, what's wrong with your eyes?" I think it's quite bold of you to just go ahead and say that.
Well, and like if you are coming from a concerned place, that's not how you approach it. You know what I mean? Or like a place of you want to be educated or a place of whatever kindness. That's not how you go about
Well,
it.
no, I think I'm way easier to approach as far as on the internet. Like I said, on TikTok, it was easier for me to answer questions because they're strangers. And not even that, a lot of people that approach us are strangers. They're not people I know. And it's just like, I don't know who you are. As far as I'm like, it's easier to approach somebody on the internet. It's than in person.
People, and I mean, that goes with the people that make the comment too. Like, people are way more freely making those comments when they're on the internet too.
Yeah, or I mean, I always tell people this time I would, it was like height of COVID. Someone came up to me. Well, these two little kids were like, "Oh, she's a monster." I'm like, and it was very hurtful that the mom didn't say a word. She just looked at me, and the kids were like 5 or 6, and they kept saying it, and I couldn't leave the line. And I was just shocked that the mom didn't allow that. It would be different if the kid said something and the mom like said like I'm so sorry, or I don't know how they should approach it, but it was uncomfortable that she didn't say a word. Instead, she looked at me like she agreed with them. Or a couple years ago, I was at Krispy Kreme, and this guy comes up to me, and he was like, "Do you have Downs?" I'm like, "What? I don't know what he's talking about." And Wesley immediately knew.
I know, I was like Down syndrome. I was kind of like, I honestly said it like, "You are an idiot," like Down syndrome. And he was like, "Yeah, because my cousin has it." And I'm like, "We clearly don't have Down syndrome." And that doesn't mean anything against people with Down syndrome. Absolutely not. It's just more like to automatically assume, like, and it was not even it wasn't even the fact that he thought if we had Down syndrome. It was his follow-up question.
Yeah,
He asked if we had a brain.
Can we think? I'm thinking, I'm getting a chocolate donut right now. I can think I want a chocolate donut.
And like, we're obviously navigating this store by ourselves. Like, I mean, like,
and then it became embarrassing because the cashier got involved and she said, "Can you please leave?" And it was just like, oh my gosh. And it was just awkward.
So to answer your question, it really is dependent on the situation. And it's dependent on how people approach us. Like, if you approach me with kindness and curiosity, I am an open book. I really don't care. You can ask me anything. But if you approach me in a very almost accusatory way or just nasty way, you're not gonna get things.
Well, no, I don't like you asking questions at all in person because I'm quote unquote normal person's not being approached, being asked all these random questions.
Yeah, true. Well, just like, let's say a normal person, I'm not gonna go up to them and say, "When did you get your braces on?" Like, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when you're out in public, like would you want people to like say like come up to you like and be like, kind and gentle and just be like why but like how would you want someone to like come up to you if they were to come up to you?
That's really, I was actually having this conversation with somebody, and she was like, "I saw somebody in the grocery store and I really wanted to approach him, but I don't know how to approach him."
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, "Just talk to him like a normal person, and I'm sure that will gradually, like, you can like sneak that in there, like, oh, by the way, like, I recognize that you have, you know, like, just both you say hello." Like, I feel like a lot of them don't come up to you and say hello.
That's true.
Like, they just say, like, "What's wrong with you?"
Out of the gate.
Yeah, and so first of all, just like approach me like you would approach somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that's really it. Just like say hello to me. And then
if you want to get to the nitty gritty,
yeah, like I'm very receptive, but say hello, and rather than just immediately going into it, immediately being like, "What's wrong with you? Why do you look like that?
What happened to your face?
What happened to your face?" I think that, like, if you came up to me and said, "Hello, I'm just really curious," I would be like, "Oh, totally," but say hello. But I think
not even that. I don't think we've ever really had an experience where people are nice.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Everybody, like, they feel almost entitled to know. And if you come to me with like that kind of attitude, like,
it makes me on the defense.
Yeah. So just like if you come from a curious place and just talk to me like a normal person, like, "Hello," then I'm so good with it.
Awesome.
Hmm.
That That I really think that is probably very helpful.
Yeah,
Just because like not everyone knows how to like, approach someone who looks
totally.
differently.
Yeah,
And really like one of the reasons why like I'm doing this podcast is so that people can have more awareness of like
yeah,
people like are born with different things, and sometimes like you can see it physically, but then there's other times where you can't see it
Yeah.
no,
physically.
totally.
And both I feel like they're very hard to like
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
walk
Oh yeah.
yeah,
through.
well,
So I really like think that it like the answers that you've given are like very helpful for whoever's going to be listening to this in the
yeah,
future. And I'm so grateful that we've been able to have that like conversation of like how do you approach someone,
yeah.
and really that whole thing. So really just like going on from here in the conversation that we're having, like what is your goal in life to go after and
To
should just be
accomplish.
a part of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is my goal in life? I feel like my goal in life changes every day, but I would love to write a book or something one day, like some kind of publish something. Um, I find a lot of freedom in writing. I am definitely on the creative side, so anything creative, um, so I say that, but like limited creative.
Well, I'll tell you mine.
Right.
So my goals are. I was actually talking about this with a doctor a couple years ago. I said nothing irritates me more than people just assuming things. And so I said I wanted. This sounds crazy, but I told him I wanted to be in the hospital setting or be a part of the craniofacial world to help people. I think there's a lack of craniofacial like representation, and I know what I would have wanted as a child, and so I kind of want to be that voice of reason. And I definitely liked humor as far as like
That's a good coping mechanism.
yes, and so I think that part of it is I want to be uplifting and make people smile and laugh. And so I remember actually this doctor that I posted on my Instagram, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you should totally be working at a hospital in the craniofacial world, uh, as far as like nonprofits." And honestly had not thought about that until he mentioned it. And because for a long time I was like, I don't want to do anything related to craniofacial. That's not no no
Oh
no.
my God, that's not who I am.
Yeah, well, it was more like that's not my life. And I realized in that moment it is kind of my life. Like the hospital became a second home. Like when I navigate MUSC, which is Medical University of South Carolina, I go in there, don't even think. I'm like going to the right, going to the left, and it's like, and so I think there's a comfort level of
Which
being
is crazy to say.
being a part of a community that a lot of people don't understand, and I also want to be a resource for other people because I know it's an isolating experience to have a craniofacial condition.
But shit, well, I think what you're saying is like a lot. There are people in the hospital that work in those type of settings, but they don't necessarily know exactly what you've been through. And whereas you want to be somebody that has kind of an idea.
Well, that's what gets me. Okay, and I think so. I was telling him this. The doctor I was talking about. I said it all started because I was talking about the child life specialist who I felt like was not listening to me as far as there's. I feel like she was reading a textbook of what she's supposed to tell me, and I was like, could she go off script a little bit, like and. Whereas I would naturally know what to say to somebody because we've been through this.
Or if you would cater to the person and their personality.
Yeah, and that's what I do like about working at Faces as far as parents will call and ask questions, and I feel like we've been through those certain things, so it comes naturally to me to answer questions that they may have or concerns. And honestly, I feel like it has been kind of healing for me to be able to be a help. Yeah, to be a help. helpful to families.
So I don't know what the future looks like or what our end goal is.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's changing.
Yeah.
But it's really just amazing that y'all are born with this and you're continuing to just help people to understand like what this journey is going to be, like kind of how it's going to be, and just to help guide parents, help guide other people, all of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what has this journey allowed you to see differently?
Okay, I think this journey, we definitely have different lenses. I think perception, everybody has to see through the perception of their own experiences. And our experiences are obviously very unique. And so, like, I would hope I become a more compassionate person and I'm far more empathetic because of my journey, I would say. I mean, I haven't always been that way, of course. There's been,
Of course.
I mean, well, not, well, you know, like, there have definitely been seasons where I hardened myself, but like, I would say this journey has allowed me to have a perception of what's really important in life and what's not so much. And you hear people talk about their problems all the time. And what I find to be a problem and what some people find to be a problem, like sometimes I do kind of discount what somebody else says just because I'm like, is that a problem? Like, and so I think the journey has definitely put into perspective what's valuable, what's important, who's a real friend, who's a real like who should you align yourself with um or be around. Like I don't know, like this journey definitely shows you what's important, I feel like.
I piggybacking off of what Wesley said, but I think even like when you have surgeries and stuff, you kind of pay attention to who texted you asking how you're doing or who came over to your house. Like I'll always think of the people who came over and got me ice cream. But like you know who your friends are versus the people that want to look good and tell you like, oh, I was thinking of you, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't even crossing your mind. And it's not like I need you to think of me or go out of your way for me, but as a friend, you are there for people. And so I think Wesley's correct as far as like how certain friendships and
Even family members.
and family members, honestly, family members. You see a lot of family members just I think there's also this expectation that this means nothing. Like, oh, this is your whole life. So, what's another surgery? Like, and every surgery is a big deal to some extent. But whether it's complications or honestly, you can still get nervous about it. I think there's this assumption that we just are a-okay, woohoo, about every surgery, and also there's this misunderstanding as far as like I feel like I always wanted to look as quote unquote normal as possible, or look like my family members, and so I think people think that
we should just accept the reality, which
yeah.
I do think on a lot of levels we have, because obviously we would be in a deep depression if we didn't. But it doesn't mean you have to accept the whole situation. You can still be upset about it. You can still grieve parts of you that or parts of a reality you wish you had. But I think having this journey, so to speak, the most valuable thing we get out of it is like the people we like met over the course of our lives that we probably wouldn't, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think this journey has been interesting as far as like I've met a lot of craniofacial people in the last couple of years, and you hear different stories. And I feel like sometimes our story, Wes and I, is a little bit different because we have the two of us, where certain people they've never met another craniofacial person, or like,
Or there's a level of isolation that's like so much deeper.
yeah, and I also say that as far as like family members, our brothers or my mom and dad, would never know what it's like to really face what Wes and I face.
Their perception is different than our
Yeah.
perception. Like they definitely have an intimate knowledge of what our lives are like, but they're not gonna know.
They're not living our life.
Yeah.
They just see it.
Yeah.
Like
And it definitely impacts them, but it doesn't mean they're not living it.
exactly.
So I think to answer your question, this journey is
A wild ride.
a wild ride, and we have learned a lot, and I'm grateful for a lot of it. And then there's some things that I'm like, I wish never happened, but that's just the fact of life.
It's not even that. It's like life is unfair to anybody for different circumstances.
Yeah.
Like we were born with a craniofacial condition, and sometimes I'm like, why me? But also, I honestly, this sounds horrible, but sometimes I'll be like, they can really never go through what we've gone through because I feel like what somebody's complaining about is so minimal or so silly. And here we're like, I think, oh, yeah, we've been through whatever and didn't even think twice.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to be like a competition.
No,
like,
not at all. But I
yeah.
think it shows that you are mentally
and-
strong.
Yeah, and like you're way more capable. Like,
than you think you are.
yeah, because you're like, oh, well, if they think that's a big deal, then that must be a big deal to them. But like, I must be really strong, or that I don't think that's a big deal. But like, that doesn't mean it's a competition or that I would downplay what they're going through at all.
Mm.
Because I don't like when people downplay anybody's like struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really just going off of that question, what would you tell to a parent or someone, most likely probably a parent in this situation, that is getting the diagnosis of Pfeiffer Syndrome for their kid?
I would say, like, my mom said that when we went to Miami Children's Hospital, the doctor told her, don't worry, they will be beautiful. And I think a lot of parents believe their child's appearance. Like, oh, will they not look normal? Oh, will they not be pretty? Will they not be accepted? And I think to tell parents, it might not be the traditional beauty, but your child will be, I don't want to say okay, but like,
I think, okay, so my thought for a parent is that this is a journey that no one else will live except for you. And I think you'll be able to learn throughout the journey what works for you and what doesn't.
yeah, because it's not cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's not cookie cutter. Yes, you can talk to other parents and they've gone through similar things, but their lives are not your lives. And so I think it's really listening to your instincts on what's the best for your family. And I also think, piggybacking off of what Wesley said, when you listen to doctors, I think try to really listen to when they're hopeful for you, because I think that's good for your mental.
Yeah, you don't want to just absorb all the negative that comes with it.
Yeah.
Or you can have a beautiful life and a hopeful future ahead. And I think so many people probably are drowning in all the negative parts of it, and like that diagnosis. But like there is, like,
Yeah, that's positive. It's positive. I wouldn't know some of the people I know if it wasn't for having a craniofacial condition.
or just go with the experiences that I've had, or whatever the case may be. It's
Well, even like people will often say, "Well, I saw you met Ryan Seacrest at Children's Hospital Philadelphia." You know what I mean? I wouldn't be actively going to Children's Hospital Philadelphia if I didn't have a craniofacial condition. Or when
I mean, those are like, yes, those are big things, but those are not like day-to-day life.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes when people look at us, they have compassion for us. And I think that for parents, don't think that everybody's just going to be mean to you.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point. Like, not everybody's this mean, horrible person, and not everybody's gonna come up to you and ask all these invasive questions. There are a lot of really good people out there, and there's a lot of people that are generally
Want to be helpful.
Yeah, and genuinely, and that, and it'll be really good to see that side of humanity. As far as like getting that diagnosis, it's devastating, I'm sure. But I think, as Emmy said, like just trust yourself and don't absorb everything negative that's coming at you. Like, yes, your life will change, but that doesn't mean it'll all change in a negative way.
Awesome. I love that so much.
Mm.
And yeah, so to end out the episode, I just want to ask you guys a fun question.
Yeah,
I know that y'all love the Real Housewives.
yeah,
You love mac and cheese. You
yeah.
love all these different things. So what is something that you love and like the reason why you love it?
Okay, so I've loved mac and cheese since I was born, I feel like. Not to be dramatic. But like I have a passion for mac and cheese. Like Wesley eats mac and cheese just to eat mac and cheese, but that's not like her.
Well, but that's like any diet. You like it's not even just like a love. This is like a lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have my Instagram, God Bless the Cheese, because one time I had this mac and cheese in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm telling them out. And it was the worst mac and cheese I've ever had in my life. And my friend was like, why don't you do an Instagram to say what mac and cheese you like? And that's when I started God Bless the Cheese. Honestly, my dream is to go to Wisconsin. Ever since I went to watch Top Chef, they did a lot of like mac and cheese because they have dairy there.
Oh, the known mother
They're
dairy.
known for their dairy. I was like, you know what? Now that's on my bucket list. I want to go there and try all this mac and cheese.
Plus all the dairy and
Yeah,
whatever.
and honestly, Real Housewives is just entertaining to me. Like, yeah, I am obsessed. Like, whether it's Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, or Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it's just interesting to see lifestyles of how people are so immature, and it's just
Well, and it's fun to watch to like be involved in somebody else's drama, but not really to be involved. You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're there with them, but you're not there with them. So it's not really impacting your life. It's just entertaining to you.
oh, so entertaining.
And like that's like somebody was asking me what like comfort show was the other day, and I'm like Real Housewives. Like I'm like, and they're like, oh, there's so much screaming and da 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 da, and I'm like, yeah, it's comforting. Like I love, I
No,
love
it's
it.
I guess it's trash TV. Or
Ah.
honestly, we met Dr. DeVoe years ago.
Mhm.
He's from Real Housewives of Orange
Yeah.
County, and I came up to his office because I have
But
no
I mean,
shame.
screenshotted the address. I
On
mean,
the
I'm
episode.
sure you can find it on Google, but like she screenshotted the address on the episode, and like we marched our way over there.
Yeah, and I was like, hello. And I think he's never really had fans come up to him. And
Yeah,
I was like, I'm a fan.
yeah. And he was like, "You just missed your wife, my wife by 5 minutes," and we're thinking to ourselves, "Get her back over here! If it's only 5 minutes."
Yeah.
And my mom was like, my mom was with us.
And she's
Like,
like, we don't need to be
we don't
her.
need to be
I
her.
was like, speak for
we do.
yourself. Yeah,
We
speak
do.
for yourself. Speak for yourself.
We want to be
Yeah.
Heather DeBlow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I
And
was,
honestly, we love all the franchises. They're entertaining.
yeah, they all have the
Books.
yeah, but they all have the flaws, and then they all have their assets.
And then obviously we know through Southern Charm too from Charleston. We'll see them out and about, and that's entertaining too. We honestly like them all.
Yeah, reality TV, well, more specifically Bravo. Um, we love it. Like it's trash TV, yes. Is it really good for you?
Who said it? Who said it was good? Oh, actually, no. I've learned a lot of words. I've learned
Your
like
vocabulary
yeah. I would
expanded.
be like trying to think of it.
Punitive.
Yes, punitive. Nefarious. No, what's it? Nefarious. Or something.
I know what you mean. It's
Yeah.
like that means really bad, but like
I don't know, but I'll be googling. I'll be like, what does that mean?
then Abby's like, I'm gonna include this in my vocabulary, and then Abby's like, doesn't even use it correctly. I'm like, girl, like know the word well before you start
Saying it.
inserting it into the random sentences.
Oh my gosh. I love this so much. And I'm so excited that I had the opportunity to sit down with the both of you and
Yes.
have this conversation with you
Yeah,
guys.
Yes.
And yeah, like I don't know about you, but I know I enjoyed this
yeah,
episode.
okay, yes. I had a great conversation with you.
Yeah, it was so fun, and I am excited for all of our listeners to listen to this.
Yes.
I know it's always such a fun conversation when I'm with you guys, and it's been so cool just being able to have this conversation
Yes,
today.
I agree. I feel the same exact way.
Yeah, don't we get to catch up?
Yeah, I know.
Just to
And
catch up.
yes,
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of It's a Rare Story. Make sure to subscribe and share this with a friend. We can't wait till we have another episode out in a few weeks. See you then.